Almost 14 years after Julian Assange became a household name, his legal battle over the publication of thousands of highly classified documents is nearing an end this morning. The WikiLeaks founder arrived alongside Australia's ambassador to the US, Kevin Rudd, at the US District Court on the island of Saipan a short time ago. There, he will plead guilty to espionage as part of a deal designed to get him home to Australia after years in a British prison.
The Australian citizen sensationally left the UK's Belmarsh prison yesterday, sparking headlines here and right around the world. Let's go straight to our correspondent at the Saipan courthouse, James Oaten. James, talk us through those scenes there as Julian Assange arrived at that courthouse just moments ago.
Morning, Michael. Well, it was only 40 minutes ago we were talking about where is Julian Assange. We knew he had landed in Saipan just after 6 a.m. local time, same as Eastern Standard there in Australia, but we didn't quite know where he was. Well, we now know he's in this courthouse behind me. He arrived only 10 minutes ago with the Australian ambassador to the US and former Prime Minister Kevin Rudd. The media quickly swarmed around the pair as they got out of this white SUV and made the short walk into court. Facial expressions, well, it's the usual facial expression you see from people when they try and get through the media without actually saying anything to the media. Just trying to keep kind of a straight stare at court, a bit of a smile, but no comments were made to the media that is gathered here today. It's quite a turnout, of course, given that we are in the remote Pacific island of Saipan, but there is quite a large foreign media here. Anyone who could get here is here, and given the huge, not just attention in Australia, but the international attention on Julian Assange, as you mentioned, a 14-year saga, 12 of those years fighting extradition, is going to come to an end, we expect, this morning at this court in Saipan.
As far as we know, what's expected to happen in less than an hour's time now when that court hearing begins?
Well, the US Justice Department made it clear that they want the plea and the sentencing all wrapped up in one. Now, Julian Assange was facing many charges relating to the Espionage Act and was facing up to 175 years. And he was terrified that if he went to the mainland United States, he could even face the death penalty. Now, after months, even longer, of negotiation between Julian Assange's legal team and the US Justice Department, they've whittled down to just one charge about obtaining and disclosing national security material. And then he will get, we expect, what prosecutors are seeking, a 5-year prison sentence. Now, he's already spent 5 years in a British jail. So once that's taken into account, he should be released and on a plane back to Australia very soon. That is, of course, assuming the judge here accepts this plea deal. But this has been months and months in negotiation. We first got kind of a real sense that something was brewing maybe around March earlier this year. It would be very surprising if something changed the outcome today, which is we expect that Julian Assange will plead guilty to one charge and be out of custody very soon and on his way home to Australia soon after. That's what we expect, Michael.
James, we know it's a case of one step at a time, but we've already heard that he could be making a case for a pardon down the track. We've also been hearing about possible ramifications in the US. Can you talk us through what will happen next?
Yeah, so this is one of the interesting things about the case. Julian Assange and WikiLeaks have long argued that what they did was journalism. By releasing all this highly sensitive material, it was, they would say, exposing the truth about US operations in places like Iraq and Afghanistan, even if it painted them in a very poor light. Those who are against WikiLeaks say, no, what you did was really dump all this material, completely unfiltered material out there for all to see, and that put the lives of US personnel at risk. So the question is where is the line about where journalism ends? Because by accepting one charge, even if it means he's out of prison and out of custody today, he's still accepted, according to law, that he's overstepped that mark. So that'll be interesting to watch forward. Other questions, will he ever be able to set foot inside the United States again? I'm sure there is something in this that will mean that he won't suddenly face these other charges again if he does ever set foot in the United States. But of course, the US might not be keen to have him back ever. So if he applied for a visa, that could be knocked back as well. But certainly from a media perspective, given how freedom of the press is such an important cornerstone of the US Constitution, it is interesting to see how that may play out. Julian Assange Assange has admitted that he did overstep the mark by pleading guilty to that one charge.
James Oaten, you'll be watching every minute of that court hearing for us at ABC News. Thank you. We'll come back to you over the course of the morning. So many ifs and buts and shoulds this morning, Emma, but if it all goes to plan, the plea deal is accepted by the US judge. As James said, we could very well see Julian Assange on a plane leaving Saipan and arriving here, back in Australia, by the end of the day, capping off what would have been a remarkable, absolutely remarkable 48 hours for the WikiLeaks founder.
Absolutely. OK, we will be keeping right across this story throughout the day here on ABC News Breakfast and then, of course, on the ABC News channel. Let's take a look at some other news now. And Senator Fatima Payman will not be suspended from the Labor Party for crossing the floor to vote for a motion calling for recognition of Palestinian statehood. It's the first time in 40 years that a Labor member has crossed the floor while in government. Deputy Prime Minister Richard Marles says a suspension would be counterproductive.
We're not about to go around expelling people from the Labor Party for having particular views here. I mean, that would not be living what we are seeking to do in trying to promote social cohesion in this country.
More than 760 patients are taking up hospital beds in New South Wales simply because they can't gain access to aged care or disability placements in the community. The state's Health Minister Ryan Park is blaming the federal government for the shortage of available aged care and NDIS beds, which is costing the state $40 million a year. On average, patients are staying 50 days longer than necessary, with some even waiting up to a year.
Former NRL star Jarryd Hayne will not face a fourth trial over sexual assault allegations. The New South Wales Director of Public Prosecutions says another trial won't be pursued after carefully considering the many competing factors and assessing public interest in the case. Mr Hayne was accused of sexually assaulting a woman in Newcastle on the night of the 2018 NRL Grand Final, but his convictions were quashed by the Court of Criminal Appeal earlier this month.
A Perth man is recovering in hospital after falling down a 3-metre hole in his backyard. 10 rescue crews took 3 hours to pull the man from the hole, with a specialist crew needed due to the unstable and sandy ground. It's understood the man had been digging for days with a friend, trying to find the main sewer pipe to complete some plumbing work.